Hello, this is Gilberte from Wild Rose Farm. Happy Acadian birthday. So, in memory of my heritage, I am making canned beans the way my mom used to make it. So, it's very simple. Teaspoon of salt, chopped up clean beans, and then you fill them with water, and then you can them in a hot water bath for 35 minutes. It is not a method recommended by Department of Food Inspection because beans are a high risk, and they recommend beans that you do them in a pressure cooker. I still do it in a hot water bath. If you are insecure about botulism, you can add a tablespoon of vinegar to each jar, and that would help mediate the risk. That's one of the beans that I'm doing this afternoon, and in the middle of our paperwork, I'm going to be canning beans. Plus, I have a Greek-style bean on the stove that if we have sufficient time, we will talk about those. So it's a lot of chopping, and I sometimes will pre-par cook the beans. And Mom she would fill her big pot like I did with the Greek style beans and pre-cook them, and we'd have them for supper, and then after supper she'd can the rest. Beans are a good source of protein, even these kind of beans. So they're great. These canned beans are great for soups, stews, and if you're in a rush and you want to quickly cook a vegetable, you just open up the jar and warm them up because they're pre-cooked. So, for example, the three bean salads, these kind of beans work really well for that too because they're small. Okay, I'm using green beans because that's what we have the most of. You can use green beans and yellow beans mixed together, and you can use green beans and yellow beans, and you can also use broad beans like the scarlet runners and chop them the same way. And the looks are different, right? So you can add variety that way. And I give it a shake so they kind of pack in there. 1 teaspoon of salt already in the jar, and if you wanted to add vinegar, you could add the vinegar.
That's a 500 milliliter, 2 cups.
2 cups, yeah. I always soften my lids with hot water.
Just soak it.
Just soak it for about 5 minutes in the hot water.
Soak for 5 minutes. Wow.
So, what happens when you have a partial one? You can still can it, and they'll float at the top.
Okay.
So it's about a teaspoon each jar, and these 2 jars were these extra. So now we add
hot water? Oh, okay. So how much space do you leave on the top?
I have a little measure in my funnel.
Okay.
And that indicates where I pour the water. Okay. So I like to put the lid right away because it's warm water. My parents preserved 98% of their food that came from the garden, so they ate well year round. And they did it not because it as a means of saving money. We were poor, so. The Acadians also salted beans. And this was more of a tradition down the shore here. And I haven't found a good recipe to try, and I go with what I know, I guess, so.
The water or hot water?
Warm water.
Warm water.
And then you gotta let it get to a boil before you put your timer on, right?
Right. So you cover the jar or
No, you just underneath the jar.
just underneath the jar? Okay.
So it's tomatoes, onions, garlic, and oregano.
Oregano. The Greek.
And Greek stuff. These are the ones I canned yesterday. And they were cooked with a little bit of summer savory
Oh.
and then canned using the same process. So we had beans for supper,
Right.
and I took the leftovers and canned them. So I have 10 jars of beans this way.
Okay.